All right, welcome. It is Nazzy from the Pulse of New Hampshire. Good afternoon. We have a wonderful segment for you today. Welcome to the Concord Co-op Community Connections. Joining me, as always, the illustrious Greg Lessard. Good afternoon, Greg. How are you?
Oh, I'm splendid. Good afternoon, Nazzy and guest, Maria and Eileen.
Yep, welcome.
Good afternoon.
Thank you.
Before we get to these two amazing ladies, really quickly, I want to recap Superfest. How did we do over the weekend? Do we have any final totals? And is there any leftover soup for lunch today, Greg?
Let's see. Lots of questions there. Superfest was amazing. It raised $55,000 for the Concord Coalition to End Homelessness. The event was sold out, but several restaurants made some extra, so we were able to continue to sell day of. But the weather was beautiful; it went flawlessly. So great event, and no, it was down to scrapings at the end, so there was no extra soup. I'm not still eating soup.
You're not. No, you're not still enjoying it for lunch.
No.
Now, in your opinion, who had the best soup over the weekend? I know that's not fair, because I'm sure they were all amazing. But in Greg Lessard's opinion, who had the best?
You are right. It's not fair not getting an answer. They were all so good. They were all so good. It was unbelievable.
Very diplomatic of you. Very, very diplomatic of you. So today we have a really wonderful subject we're going to be talking about. And this is something that I have personal experience from. A few weeks ago, I was in the co-op, and at the checkout, they asked me if I wanted to round it up. And I was thinking, well, what do you mean round it up? I didn't quite understand. And then the girl at the checkout counter, she explained to me how that money, when we round it up, it helps out local organizations. Why don't you expand on that a little bit, Greg, if you could?
Yes, the Rounded Up at the Register program started in April of 2019. Since that time, $77,000 has been raised for local nonprofits. So as you said, Nazzy, if you're rounding up, it might be 10 cents, to take you from $4.90 to $5. But it all adds up. And so checks go every month. A nonprofit is selected. They have been totally selected for this year. And so this month it is the food bank. The New Hampshire Food Bank is this month's recipient of the Rounded Up at the Register program. And next month, it is the Capital Region Food Program is the monthly recipient of the funds for everybody rounding up. So in the event that you're shopping at the co-op and the customer service representative is distracted and forgets to say round it up, you can just say it yourself.
We did it. And I will tell you that we did round it up. It was only 37 cents. We did round it up. And I did discover that it went to the New Hampshire Food Bank to Eileen. Eileen, how amazing is it that you guys are the March recipients of the Rounded Up program?
It's fabulous support and great awareness as well. We really want all our neighbors in New Hampshire to know that if there is a need for food in their household, they can find food on our website, populated by the town or county they're in. They can see all of our partner agencies. There's 400 of them throughout the state. We want to make sure nobody goes hungry. So that's what I want them to know. We are so grateful of the financial support. With every dollar, we're able to provide 2 nutritious meals. So we're very grateful for every penny that comes in. So round it up. Woohoo!
Keep going. Now, do we know the total? Do we know exactly how much is going to the New Hampshire Food Bank, or are we not? Because the month isn't over yet. We don't know.
The month is not over yet, so no.
We don't know. We'll get it total.
We do not know as of yet. Eileen, one of the things that I was really wondering is how has COVID affected your organization? I mean, you, I believe you were making meals for different, like the Boys and Girls Club, even I think in town. So, is that still going on, or how has it affected your organization?
Over the past year, the phrase pivot, adjust, reassess, apply. Yeah. We've done that a few thousand times. It feels like, every change that's come out. It's been difficult, but we've adjusted. First thing we had to do was shut down the warehouse to all non-employees. Yeah. So that took away our volunteer base, which was a good thing. Many of them were retired and at risk. So we wanted to make sure they were safe. But that cut down our ability to bring in salvage food and sort it. Oh, yeah. But at the time, the grocery stores, the the aisles were bare and they didn't have any left over for us. So we had to start purchasing, and we're really not, we do purchase, but we're in the business of receiving donated food and sorting and distributing. So for example, in the month of March of 2019, in 2020, I bought more food than we did in all of 2019.
Wow.
And so we've just been able, because of the generosity of the community and the state, we've been able to stay in the money and stay in the food and meet the demands. The demand's been up about probably 40%. The USDA Farm to Family Box Program has helped kind of take some of the stress off the agencies. They're seeing more new faces and families than they ever have before.
Yeah.
We had the National Guard in to help sorting from April to August. That was a great experience. Fabulous folks, every single one of them. And then we felt safe enough that we had our operations changed and we channeled everything so the volunteers had their own entrance and exit and bathrooms, and so they felt safe and they came back. We had all the PPE we needed. So it's a different kind of new normal. The agencies can't come in the warehouse anymore. We built a structure outside so they're safely pick up outside. Yeah, that feels a bit strange, telling your family they can't come inside. So we've been adjusting and meeting the demands. We're up about 25% over the year. Did about 14 million pounds last year, a little over 17 million pounds this year. And just adjusting the model to where we can meet the demands. Like the mobile food pantries, they were privately funded. We would do 7 or 10 of those a year, maybe. Yeah. We did 71 in 2020.
Wow.
It was just under 2 million pounds of food, and we served over 30,000 families. So that's part of the model we never did before. But we figured it out and we did it.
Yep. And that's what we do. I think we're all in uncharted waters. I mean, just basically how we've all had to pivot. And I want to toss it over to Maria from the Capital Region Food Program. Maria, same thing. How did your staff, how did your group have to pivot during the pandemic?
So the Capital Region Food Program is unique in comparison to the food bank. We're not a food bank, and we're also all volunteer. There's no paid staff. There's no administrative costs. So different, right? You rely on volunteers with the New Hampshire Food Bank. So do we. And we were mindful of the fact that we didn't want to expose any of our volunteers. We had to be real careful and all of that. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that we experienced early on is we do purchase food. We purchase food on a monthly basis and we give it to our partner agencies. Some of those partner agencies also work with the New Hampshire Food Bank. So they benefit from both of our organizations and do great work in our communities. Right. What happened and what Eileen was talking about, you go into the grocery stores and all the grocery stores, the shelves were empty. The channels of distribution were disrupted so badly because manufacturers and food providers were not able to produce quickly enough. And it wasn't as if, like, when we have a nor'easter and we can't get the food, you can get it elsewhere in the country. The whole country was hit. Yeah. So we found that we had to look at substitute products because we have about 25 products that we will provide caseloads of them on a monthly basis to our partner agencies, and they can select what they want and get up to 20 cases a month and all of that kind of stuff. But our standard staples, vegetables, soups, fruits, they weren't available. So we had to look at alternative products, macaroni and cheese. I mean, that's a big staple for a lot of our food pantries and soup kitchens and social service agencies. It ended up that couldn't get it anywhere. The substitute product we had was 4 times the cost per case. We went from like $20 to $80 a case. Wow. So did what you had to do. And I think that Eileen can explain really well how tough it was. They take a lot of the donated food. Most of our partner agencies who take the donated food, and sometimes we receive it and just turn it to them right away. There was no mechanism in place to sanitize, quarantine, and sanitize that food. So it put them at a disadvantage. Some of the partner agencies, like Eileen has said, weren't able to continue operations because of their setup. And they had to rethink. We all had to rethink. Our biggest, most visible project is the Holiday Food Basket Project. We use 1,000 volunteers. No way could we do that last year. So we had to rethink how we were going to do it. And we pulled it off considering all of the stuff that we go through. We typically service 1,800 families with that project. This past year, the meal itself, we got to about 1,350. And then the staple items, we were pushing out to all the food pantries and soup kitchens and social service agencies. So it was available to those people that typically get the food. And so we were still able to service that 1,800 families. But resilience, rethinking, remodeling, adjusting, pivoting, you name it, we all have experienced it this past year. And I think it speaks well of the state of New Hampshire, and especially the greater Concord community, at the fact that so many people have been ready, willing, and able to answer the call for help.
Now, let me ask you both a question, both Eileen and Maria. Let me ask you guys a question. Was there ever a point over the last year, and especially with the holiday program that came up in, during the winter months last year, was there ever a point that you went into your warehouse or you went into the place where you keep the food and you're like, oh my God, we're not going to make it. We're not going to be able to feed these. So Eileen, you're shaking your head. No, there was never a point where, and Maria, you're shaking your head. Yes, there was never a point. Yeah.
What we had to do, because we have built such strong relationships over the past 46 years with our vendors, when we place our order for holiday, and we placed it early, we placed it in September. We usually place it in October. We place it in September. So they had ample time to gather the product and warehouse it for us so that when they shipped it to us, we got the product we needed. They weren't sure if we were going to get the product. We had to substitute some stuff because it wasn't available, but that's the way it goes. More lead time was required for us to get what we needed.
And what about for you, Eileen?
The supply chains were pretty wonky for a while. Yeah. But early on, I mean, I cut loose a big chunk of change to our food broker in March, and we didn't hold back. So we kept our inventory as healthy as we could. I have a very experienced food broker that we share with a number of other smaller food banks in New England. Kind of lock arms, call ourselves the country cousins, and she's got decades of experience. This woman wouldn't let a Triscuit go by her. So I knew if I could stay in the money, she could keep us in the food. And I cut loose a big chunk of change early on and just said, go.
Eileen, do you still have the farm down near the Merrimack? Do you still, and if you still have it, was that helpful this past year when you said vegetables were in short supply? We
have 1 acre on River Road. And for 1 acre, you usually get about 10,000. And I think that's what we got this year. It was kind of tough without volunteers. And we were fortunate that the National Guard was here and helped us open it up. The year before, we got about 14,000 pounds. So we were a little off, but Jason was able to pull it off with minimal volunteers, and to come out with minimal volunteers and 10,000 pounds, I'm grateful for it.
Yeah. Now, where are you guys now, in terms of getting your staff back, getting things back on track? Because, the numbers are starting to go down. They're starting to move in the direction that we want them to. Have you invited back some of those volunteers? Eileen, we'll start with you.
Oh, sure. Well, we were all back. We had some non-essentials leave, but we were all back by the end of June.
Okay. And
the volunteers we had set up, we explained to them what the system was, and they were very comfortable with it. So, there were very few non-essential employees that worked from home.
Gotcha. Maria?
So for us, we have 2 projects, the holiday, which is most visible, and then we have our year-round distribution project, which we do the once a month. It's a just-in-time operation, and we work with Associated Grocers of New England. Our volunteer base for that was stable. It stayed, it maintained. We made sure that the volunteers that we used were not high risk, and that they were comfortable with the PPE and everything that we had in place, and so on and so forth. And being a just-in-time, it was the cars would roll up, they'd get loaded, they'd leave, so there was minimal interaction with other people. That's still going on full strong. The board is in a lot of discussion right now, as having pulled off holiday the way we did last year, looking forward. How do we reimagine holiday and what we have to do, and be thinking and be mindful of, what if this happens again? Because they say a once in a lifetime storm, and we've had like 5 of them
Yeah.
in this decade.
A lot of
So
lifetimes in 10 years. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So this pandemic, horrible, something that we didn't anticipate being at this level, but that doesn't mean we won't experience something like that again. So the planning right now, and I'm sure the New Hampshire Food Bank is going through the same thing. We're looking at it. How can we reimagine? What do we have to look at? What are some of the mission critical aspects of this, and making sure that the impact and the need is being serviced. And one of the things that I've always admired with the New Hampshire Food Bank is they work with a number of different partner agencies.
Right.
One of the things that the Capital Region Food Program has strived for in the greater Concord area is always to look at how can we partner together to have a greater impact. There's limited resources out there. So how can we maximize those limited resources by working in collaboration and cooperation? You know, and that's one of the things that was critically important during this whole situation with COVID.
Yep. So in the last few minutes that we have here, moving forward, how can we support both food programs? What can we as the public do right now to help you guys? Because I know for a fact one of the toughest months of the year or times of the year for food insecurity is during the summer months, because that's when people aren't thinking about supporting their local food pantry. It's usually during the holidays, they're feeling charitable. It's during the summer, it's not in their minds anymore. So what can we do now to help support these programs?
Eileen?
Within your community, find out who those programs are. You could find out a lot of our agencies run a lot of summer feeding programs. Find out who some of our agencies are in your community. If you want to have direct impact, help at a direct local level, volunteer, go in there. You know, our summer feeding programs operate on a shoestring budget. They rely heavily on volunteers. That's one way for sure. Because I know everybody needs volunteers. Yeah. Sure, we all need money. Absolutely. Right. I'm sure you have a donate button on your site, as do I.
Yep.
But, you know, raising the awareness and making it, you know, socially acceptable to reach out your hand, need help, and get it with a smile. Amen. All our agencies are very, you know, conscious of respect and dignity. So we want to get through this together and lock arms and come out of this with a smile.
Amen.
And I agree with everything that Eileen has just said. And to your point, Nazzy, summertime, we need to re-educate people. We need them to be more aware and more sensitive to the fact that hunger is not just seasonal. It ebbs and flows during the year, yes, but summertime is a critical time. So if we could get people to rethink, many of the organizations that we work with love to do food drives, and they love to do them for holiday. And I'm saying, can you rethink that and do it for the summertime? And let's get it out to those agencies that are dealing directly with the recipients so that they have their inventory full. I think that's part of the message, is the re-education, and this has become even more important given what we went through in 2020.
Very well said. Greg, in the last minute and a half, is there anything you'd like to add to that? And of course, got to talk about the co-op, got to talk about what's going on at the co-op.
Well, I just wanted to ask Maria, if you could just give a quick, you know, what's your mission at your organization? A lot of people may not be familiar with the Capital Region Food Program, and you've been talking about what you're doing, but if you could just, if you could clearly state your mission of the organization, I think that'd be helpful.
Capital Region Food Program is all about helping to alleviate hunger in the greater Concord area through coordination, collaboration, cooperation with social service agencies, food pantries, and soup kitchens, as well as other organizations that deal with hunger insecurity, or food insecurity. We talk about doing it through raising funds and distributing food, and that's what we're all about.
Perfect.
Well done, Maria, under the pressure there.
I knew she would. I think she probably said that many's the times. But,
very well.
Yeah. So in all of the rounded up at the register recipients for this year and past ones are on the ConcordFoodCoop.coop website. I would encourage people to look at the rounded up recipients, and all the links to their organizations are there as well.
Thank
Excellent.
you.
Greg, thank you very much. Maria, Eileen, please keep up the great work that you're doing and helping so many local families. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you for your
us.
support.
Thank you.
If you're in the mood for real food, it's Concord Food Co-op.